Hello, and welcome to Live Lessons WPF Programming, Lesson 3, Controls and Code Behind. In this lesson, our objectives are going to be to learn how we can use controls in code. We'll learn how we can create and inject controls from our codes in case we need to build dynamic UIs or utilize existing controls in our code behind. And then secondly, we're going to learn about the visual tree and how it helps us to be able to find the different controls that are currently being displayed on our screen.
Hello, and welcome to Live Lessons WPF Programming, Lesson 3, Controls and Code Behind. In this lesson, our objectives are going to be to learn how to use controls and code behind, and also learn how to use the visual tree to help us with our controls and code. So, the first thing that we're going to do is that we're going to go ahead and build a screen completely from code behind. So what you'll see here is that I have a window, but my window has absolutely no visuals in it. However, when I run it, you can see I have a name text box, a name text block, and a save button that when I click shows me a message button. Margins have been applied, alignments have been applied, and you can see stretching works. So now let's take a look at this code. So the first thing that we want to do is we want to define our grid, because our grid is going to be how we lay the controls out on the screen. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a grid, and then I'm going to create two columns. One of them is going to have a grid unit type of auto, while the other one has a grid unit type of star. Now we need to make sure to put 1 in grid unit type.star because that's just saying star by itself. If we were to put 0 star in here, that's the same thing as no star, which would have no width. Now we've also added a couple of rows. And once again, our first row is going to be auto, and our second row is going to be star. And we're going to add those rows to the row definition collections just as we added the columns to our column definitions. So now that we've created our grid, we need to add some visuals to it. So what I've done here is I've created a text block. I've set my text property to the word name. I've also given it a margin of 5 just so that I can keep it from being flush against its visuals. I set a horizontal alignment to right and the vertical alignment to center, so that way I get the concept of my label being on the right while I'm vertically centered to my input control. Next, we can set the column and rows just like we would in XAML by using what's called an attached property. We're going to get more detail in attached properties in the next few lessons, but for now just know we can use the static grid class, and we can call set column and set row. We're going to pass it in the visual that we want to set a column and row for, and then the value for it. So my text block, I want to give it a column of 0 and a row of 0. And then I'm going to add my text block to my grid. So now that we have our text block, let's add our text box. So I've created a name text box here. I've once again set my horizontal alignment to left, my vertical alignment to center, and my width to 100. I then use the same set column and set row on my text box to say I want to put this into the first column, but I also want to put it into the 0 row. And then we're going to add that to our grid. And then lastly we have our button. Our button, we're going to call it the save button. We're going to set its content to just the string save because we don't want to put any visuals inside of it. We're going to horizontally align it to the right, vertically align it to the bottom, and we're also going to give it a margin of 5 thickness. And then what we're going to do is we're going to manually attach to the click event handler. The click event handler, as you can see, is just going to call message box.show, passing in the string of saved.